Welcome back to El Formula. On today's F1 news, the rumour mill is on full swing on Max Verstappen's move to Mercedes. Christian Horner is defying that Red Bull know what they are doing. Toto Wolff backs Fred Vasseur to continue as a Ferrari team boss. All that and more. As always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. With the Silverstone race coming up this weekend, the Racing Bulls have released a one-off livery for the Grand Prix, and it's done by an artist called Sloan. I think it's pretty mid. All I can see is just eyes all across the bodywork. Doesn't seem to look like there is anything other than that. Doesn't look that special to me. In fact, what I think is pretty unique is the Red Bull livery that they used during one of the testings. Looks very similar like that, but kind of camouflage. And I think that looked much better if they're going for some form of like an artistic camo look. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. So Horner is defiant as Red Bull's crisis deepens. He says we're not idiots. So I believe that we have strength and depth in this team, but unfortunately we haven't seen the performance come which we would have liked. We're at the end of the set of regulations. We are compromised by some of the tools we have, but it is the same fundamental group of figures who 18 months ago had designed a car which won every single race bar one. They just don't suddenly become idiots overnight. You have to acknowledge the great job that McLaren is doing, and congratulations to them. But for us, it's not just about working harder, because everybody's working incredibly hard, about working smarter. We are just focusing on every Grand Prix and trying to grab every opportunity, like we did in Montreal. We were second ahead of the McLarens, and race winner was 62 seconds behind and being caught by a Sauber, so it shows how it shifts around. I think when he says that the same fundamental group, I think what he's missing out is Adrian Newey has quit, and obviously Jonathan Wheatley's also not there. So there have been some material departures, and that does take its toll. I think we should just wait till the 2026 regulations come into effect. Christian Horner was the one who implemented the partnership with Ford, and they will be creating their engines and the hybrid systems in-house. And if that partnership is a success, then of course he should continue. But if that is a failure, then obviously the buck stops with him. But something is definitely not gelling in that team, and we'll know by 2026 whether it is wide-reaching and it's just not the aero department. But having said that, I think Christian has had an amazing career. He has won 6 Constructors' Championships and 8 Driver Championships with 2 drivers. I think that in itself speaks very highly of what Christian is capable as a leader. But probably with Dietrich Mateschitz dying and the power vacuum that was left, the power struggle that exists amongst the two parties, the Thai side and the Austrian side, this probably doesn't bode well for Christian in the long run. And maybe he just needs a fresh start somewhere else, and he can rebuild a team and do it to his liking. Maybe he gets an equity stake, so this time he's got some ownership in the team. That could be the difference between him being on the chopping block when things go wrong, or if there is another Horner scandal. But I think it just gives him that much more leverage in continuing and staying without having these distractions. On to the main news of today. This was something that Max posted way back in 2016 about Toto calling him up, and he's asking, shall I pick up, guys? I guess he probably has picked up the phone call after the disaster that was Austria for him. So this is what's been hitting the tape today. Mercedes are reportedly advancing in contract negotiations with Max Verstappen. Here's another headline. Sky Italia has gone out on a limb and dropped a bombshell report claiming that concrete negotiations between Mercedes and Max Verstappen have led to the 4-time world champion saying yes to a deal with the Silver Arrows outfit. Now, these are just rumors at the moment. If you look at Autosport, they say Autosport understands that nothing has been decided yet regarding Max Verstappen's future in F1, despite ongoing discussions with Mercedes and reports in Italy suggesting a deal is close. Now, do I think it's happened? I don't know. The fact that it's coming out of the Italian press is a little bit strange. Usually it is the Dutch media who have good links with the Verstappen camp, and they are the ones who are first to know. So the fact that it's coming from Sky Italia, I will take it with a pinch of salt for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are lining something up in anticipation of Max coming forth and his contract clause being executed. And if it is true, I think Toto would provide a stability that Max needs. I think there's too much power clashes that's happening at Red Bull on an owner and management level. And I think Toto being an owner of the team will help, and also there'll be less distraction. It also gives Max the ability to renegotiate his current contract for more money, given now he has 4 championships. Whereas his previous contract, if I'm not mistaken, was done after he won his first championship, and it was going out until 2028. So from my understanding, I think he's been earning the same amount since then. And in that time, he's obviously won another 3 championships, and you can tell that he is probably the hottest property in Formula One, given how dominant he has been, especially last year when he did not have the fastest car and he was still winning races and he won the championship. And even this season, a car that is clearly undrivable by the second driver, he's out there and he's also scooping up as many points as he can. And until Austria, he was still in the championship hunt. mathematically, it's still possible he can win this season, but with the lead that McLaren have and the car that they have, it looks very unlikely. And on the back of what seems to be a rumor again, George Russell has turned down a 1+1 contract offer as he seeks a longer deal for more security in the future. And I'm not surprised by this. I think George has performed incredibly well this season. He is probably one of the standout drivers, given he hasn't got a car to fight for the championship, but he is there, very consistent, scoring points every race. I understand why a 1+1 is being given to Russell. It just gives Toto the flexibility to kick him out and sign Max if they have a fast car next year. But isn't that quite sad for George Russell? Imagine if Mercedes actually do have a car to win the championship and he's being kicked out before that happens. And think about when he joined Formula One, he was put in Williams for a couple of years, I think it's 2 or 3 seasons, and he was told to be patient, and he was only brought into the team once the Mercedes dominance had come to an end. And he was being patient again, and he continued to build the team whilst they weren't championship material. And then to be kicked out again, I think that would be a travesty for George. But having said that, if Max leaves Red Bull, George will probably go to Red Bull. So it's not all doom and gloom. He's still in a top team. But the question is whether Red Bull's engine and hybrid system will be competitive next year. And if it isn't, then he's stuck with that team for another few years till the regulation changes again. But having said that, I think Red Bull will probably sign him and sign him for good money as well. So worst case scenario, he is still a Formula One driver, probably wouldn't have won a world championship, but would have made a lot of money in the process. And on the topic of Mercedes, Andrew Chauvelin has given some commentary on the development of the W16. So he said, well, we're not finished with the W16 yet, so there are still developments in the pipeline. We will particularly focus on any elements that can bring performance this year and also carry over to next year. So in summary, it's not done yet. There's more stuff coming around the summer break, and we'll be working hard on this car to try and get some good results. I think that will be pretty exciting for the best of the rest. So Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, I think there will be a lot of battles in that region. So it's good to see Mercedes haven't necessarily completely stopped all the upgrades. And I really do hope that some of the performance that they're talking about is in relation to making the car more drivable during hotter climates. Onto Ferrari. Now, Fred Vasseur wasn't present at the Austrian Grand Prix. His absence was due to a private matter, but it was not a bereavement, contrary to some of the foolish speculation that has been circulated. Fred Vasseur had to say this: the upgrades we're introducing to the SF25 in Spielberg certainly played some part in our good result last Sunday. We want to capitalize on the positive momentum going into this next race. This is Lewis's home race, and he'll be particularly keen to do well, buoyed by the amazing support he can always count on here. Personally, I'm looking forward to being back at the racetrack with the team to enjoy the special atmosphere that's unique to Silverstone. Toto Wolff, a friend of Fred Vasseur, has defended Fred, given all the pressure, him potentially losing his job. Toto said the following: in Formula One, you can't buy time. You need to give senior leadership the time to get on top of things. Jean Todt, if I'm not wrong, joined the team in 1993. They won their first championship in 2000. 8 years. That's how it goes. Wimbledon is in full swing. Daniel Ricciardo celebrated his 36th birthday at Wimbledon with his parents. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this look. He looks homeless, probably the unemployed look. He looked better without the grown hair and the beard. So I don't know. What do you guys think? And then a new sponsor for Aston Martin. Coinbase will be a sponsor. So we should be seeing them, I guess, from Silverstone onwards. Stefano Domenicali is going to be meeting with the UK Prime Minister alongside some team bosses and drivers. This is what he had to say about Silverstone. I do believe that Silverstone has the right characteristics to stay forever in the calendar. There's no place where you can develop such a huge event in the UK. I don't see any other place, to be honest. And just for reference, Silverstone hosted the first World Championship race in 1950 and has a contract until 2034. Last year it hosted the biggest crowd of any event on the calendar with 480,000 spectators. So he also wanted to talk about Brexit and the issues that it poses on the business. So visa issues post-Brexit had affected the deployment of staff from race to race around Europe, while costly and time-consuming paperwork had complicated logistics and made it harder to draw up a race calendar. And then he said this: it is possible to think in the short term that the teams will move out from the UK because of this limitation. The teams will organize themselves maybe in a different way. What we're asking is not to change the decision that your country has taken, because it is not our mandate and our role, but to facilitate things that are having a burden on the economical side, and also in terms of possibility to be, as a country, more attractive for keeping the central part of Formula One in this country. Yeah, I don't think there's many circuits in the UK that can hold that many people. And I think generally Silverstone as a track has some of the best corners, and also just the history around it. And it was and it tends to deliver pretty good racing based on that. I hope it's a forever track on the Formula One. Now, last week we mentioned that given the war in the Middle East, 2 of the races, so that's the Qatar Grand Prix and the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, whether they will continue if there is sort of war escalations happening between Israel and Iran. So there's just some updates on this. So far we don't have this kind of signal, and so we're really hoping not. So I don't want to even think about it, mainly for the bigger picture and not for the racing itself. And of course, in case of, we have a plan. Let's hope this will not be even thinkable. So he said, Europe is big. The temperatures are quite mild in certain areas. Definitely we cannot go in places where there will be snow. But as I said, I'm not even thinking about that. We're not worried at all that this will have an effect on the championship. So these races will be in December. I guess Portugal is the most southern track in Europe. So the Algarve circuit could be a good option. That was used during the COVID-19 pandemic. And also probably maybe Turkey. I think it's pretty south, so that could also work. Finally, with the F1 movie that was out last week, we also have a documentary on Damon Hill. And in it, he discusses his world championship, he discusses life, loss, and his legacy. If that's something you're interested in, go check it out. Anyways, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.